Alright, my friends, today we are going to talk about something that's been with us way before Patriots and HIMARS systems showed up, like centuries before. I'm talking about the Cossack spirit. Obviously, in the previous episodes, we talked about the lords of the Russian cringe, the so-called Desant and Spetsnaz, inspiring generations of Russian terrorists. And today I'd like to explain a bit about the guys who inspire and motivate us, Ukrainians. And of course, I'll be talking about those brutal guys with mustache, sabers, and the absolute zero fear in their bloodstream. You've probably seen them in the old paintings riding horses and screaming "Voля abo smert," freedom or death. Turns out they were not just some historical dudes in rich Ukrainian folklore. A lot of what they stood for, believed in, and fought for is still alive today, and I don't mean in a museums, I mean in the trenches, in the call signs, in tattoos, flags. So in this video we're going to look at how those old Cossack values, independence, brotherhood, absolutely wild levels of courage are showing up in the modern Ukrainian armies. Alright, let's rewind the tape a few hundred years back to a time when there were no tanks, no Wi-Fi, and people actually rode into battle on horses instead of arguing on Twitter. Meet the Cossacks, or Cossacks, depending on how deep your Slavic language trauma goes. So, who were they? They were these wild, self-governing warrior dudes who lived mostly in the steppes of what is now Ukraine, especially around the Zaporizhia region. They were not a country, they weren't exactly a state, and definitely not a yoga retreat. They were a siege. Think of it like a military camp that turned into its own democratic society run by guys who would rather die in battle than pay taxes or take orders from a drunk nobleman in a powdered wig. Most probably you imagine Cossacks as a bunch of angry villagers with sticks, which partially was the case because this is primarily where they came from, peasants who ran away from abusive noblemen, all sorts of adventurers, former military, and all those men, just like in modern Ukrainian brigade, would say goodbye to their old lives and become warriors. Sabers, muskets, cannons on river boats, because basically they had pirate ships. They raided the Ottomans, fought the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, told the Tsar to go step on a rake, and occasionally even managed to sign peace treaties with people right before stabbing them. Diplomacy, Eastern European style. Guys, history is a crazy topic in general, because take for example Crimean Tatars, right? The Crimean Khanate. Cossacks and Tatars fought each other for centuries, but sometimes they would also make alliances with each other to fight, for example, bigger forces like Poland. Imagine Orthodox Christian Cossacks riding into battle alongside Crimean Tatars, Muslim guys, in the age when people would literally slaughter you if you were a different religion. And this is something that makes Ukrainian history so exciting. And sometimes Cossacks would fight for Poland against Moscovia, which is the only known historical case when Moscow was actually besieged and almost destroyed. And unfortunately, sometimes they would also fight together with Moscow against Poland, which was a huge historical mistake from historical standpoint, because it effectively brought an end to the whole story of Cossacks. So here is the real kicker, my friends. The Cossacks elected their leaders. The hetman wasn't some royal bloodline guy, he had to earn it. Like, can this guy hold a saber and drink a liter of horilka without crying? That was a typical level of leadership test according to Ukrainian folklore. But the fact is, Ukrainian Cossacks invented democracy way before American 13 colonies even emerged on the map. The first democratic constitution has been written by Ukrainian Cossack Pilip Orlik in 1710. You may wanna Google this one. And of course, among Ukrainian people, they were known as freedom fighters because they were fighting not just for fun or gold, though let's be honest, nobody minds a bit of gold, but mostly for voля. That word meant freedom, independence, the right to tell anyone in power to go politely kiss a cactus. Sounds familiar, right? And at this point, thinking about Cossacks, you probably imagine like sabers swinging everywhere. But here's the thing, those sabers were often just for the show. The real power was the firearms. Listen to this, archaeological digs at old Cossack battle sites don't turn up piles of sabers. They find muskets, a lot of them, and barely any blades at all. And that is not just because sabers get buried less easily, it's because the Cossacks preferred guns. They were among the first professional infantry in Eastern Europe to say, well, yeah, still school, but these go-bang sticks, that is the future right there. For example, they formed plastuni, that was a specialized light infantry that would wait and ambush their enemies with muskets, not with lances or sabers. Basically, they were hybrid professional infantry cavalry before anyone else thought of it. Have you ever seen the Patriot movie with Mel Gibson? If so, that might give you some idea of how it looked like in Ukraine, in Eastern Europe, way before the line infantry emerged. The Cossacks were smart, they chose weapons that killed at range before anyone could charge, and their philosophy was fight smart, fight hard, and hit first. They knew that technology wasn't just for castles, it was for basically winning wars. So while sabers were sexy, the muskets got the job done, and that practical kind of madness that they had, the edge, the altitude, it didn't vanish. You'll see that same fire and adaptability in today's Ukrainian army. So basically, next time someone tells you that Ukraine is just a post-Soviet thing, you remind them that we've been fighting empires way before Putin's ancestors figured out what indoor plumbing even was. The Cossacks were original come and take it gang, except with mustache sharper than their sabers and a battle cry that still echoes in modern trenches. Alright, history class is over, and now we'll take a look at how this Cossack madness shows up in today's Ukrainian army. First off, the Cossack attitude that is still alive and kicking. That whole no one tells me what to do unless I trust them. That vibe is baked into the Ukrainian military. Have you ever seen a Ukrainian soldier arguing with the officer over map coordinates in the middle of shelling? That's Cossack democracy and anarchy at the same time. And I've seen it so many times myself as a sergeant and later as an officer. The chain of command exists for sure, but it's got personality, so to say, fortunately or unfortunately, but is just our thing. The same way the hetman back in those days had to earn his authority. Modern commanders in Ukraine get respect by being actually competent, not because they flash a rank badge like it's a Pokemon card. Then there's the call signs. You've obviously heard soldiers with names like Cossack, Chumak, Mamai, or Hetman. It's not a cosplay, my friends, it's our pride. It's a living link. Units decorate their positions with Cossack flags, wear trident patches with old-school fonts, even blast folk battle songs before rolling out, because fighting is not just about bullets and courage, it's about your military culture that makes your identity. And of course, let's talk tactics, because the flexibility, the improvisation, that is pure siege energy, my friends. Cossacks invented guerrilla warfare way before it became trendy. Fast raids, sabotage, using terrain to their advantage. Now it's pickup trucks with mortars in the back, drones rigged with grenades, soldiers moving like shadows through the tree lines, something I call madness with a plan. Even the very typical camaraderie, you know, the tight unit bonds, the inside jokes like, I would die for this guy, but also take his ration if he dies first. That kind of brotherhood, it's straight out of the old Cossack playbook. You don't just fight next to people, you live with them, you suffer with them, you joke through the incoming fire. Any international volunteer who fought shoulder to shoulder with Ukrainian soldiers would tell you the same. The fact is, Cossacks didn't disappear. They just put on modern uniforms and traded their sabers and muskets for HIMARS and FPVs. The same spirit, volia, stubbornness, and strategic chaos, it's still charging into battle, only now it's wearing body armor and probably drinking worse coffee. That Cossack spirit lives in the Ukrainian trenches, my friends. It lives today in the jokes that Ukrainians tell each other between drone alarms, in a soldier fixing a truck with duct tape and curses, in the sniper with a trident patch, in a volunteer 3D printing drone parts in his garage. That's Cossack blood, and if you feel it in you, no matter if you come from Tokyo, Paris or Berlin, it actually makes you a tiny bit Cossack yourself. My dear friends, let me know if you like this one, and also don't forget to subscribe. I'm Operator Starsky. Thanks for watching.